and they don't want to get caught up in the contracts and a lot of the marketing and just the what I call administrivia.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with the administrivia.
Yeah. We definitely fill the holes that are holes.
Yeah.
And they're holes for a reason. I observe in my own experience, I really enjoy sales. I enjoy marketing. Um, I value operations. But you see, there's two different words there. There's what I enjoy and there's what I value.
Welcome to the Value Factory Podcast, brought to you by One Accord. We're all about helping businesses thrive and grow through leadership, strategy, and meaningful impact. Now, whether you're a seasoned executive or just starting out, our goal is to provide insights and inspiration to help you navigate your journey. Thanks for tuning in.
Well, welcome back to the Value Factory, and we're joined again by my friend John Martinka with Nokomis Advisors, a regular guest on the Value Factory where we talk all things business valuation, enterprise value, M&A, what's going on in the world, what we can look forward to. And today, I'm looking forward to a conversation around owner dependency. It's something we kind of talk about regularly. So, John, welcome.
Yeah, and we should also say Nick is every other month. Nick is a guest on the Getting the Deal Done podcast. We do the same thing. We just ramble.
Yeah, that's good. And we trade blogs and we share a lot of content and co-hosting events. And so it's a really good partnership.
Yeah.
Glad to be doing it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So yeah, owner dependency. I wrote the article for that I sent you the other day. I posted it on our website's blog. And it is a common topic, but I will say that I'm on generally a podcast every week or two or somebody, and I generally have someone. Have a guest at least to average once a week, and 80% of the time you get into the subject of value and how to diminish value or create value or M&A, and it's owner dependency.
Yeah,
is the big red flag. And they said these are not just M&A people. They're people, that would do coaching or accounting, finance. They all recognize it.
It's the first chapter in our book.
Yeah.
The 8 levers that an owner can pull to increase enterprise value. So I think particularly for the folks in our audience that are advisors, that are wealth advisors, attorneys, CPAs, they understand this notion because it's been talked about a lot broadly, owner dependence. I think for the entrepreneur, my brothers and sisters out there in the world that are living the life I'm living, we understand it at a visceral level, right? It's Thursday, payroll's tomorrow, and I'm the one responsible for making that happen. Right? That's a tough place to be in. Or on the other side of it, we're going to host a big event. We're going to draw in a big crowd, and I've got to talk to the caterer. I've got to secure the place. I've got to get the invites out, right? It's all me. Another situation is, I've got a team, got 30 people working in my company, but I'm the only one that can answer the tough questions.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. But how do you know that feeling?
Well, first of all, I've got my daughter with me, working with me, and we've got 2 other guys that are fairly new. But when, something sticky comes up, I'm the guy.
Yep.
They'll come to me. What would you do on this? Can you handle this?
Yep. Yeah. And so the folks that we work with, we live this owner dependence. And I do get frustrated when advisors talk about it as though it's a thing that's easily solved.
Yeah. I can't help it.
Just fix owner dependence. And there we go.
Just step back and let everyone else do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, and the, the gurus and the coaches out there that, would espouse like, this, take my 5-step formula and all the magic will happen and your company will no longer be dependent on you.
Well, anyone who is selling their 5-step formula or 7-step process, they ought to be shot, because every situation is different.
I don't know if I go that far, but
Well, maybe not with a gun, but maybe with a water pistol.
yeah, water
A
pistol we could do.
super soaker.
Yeah, super soaker. And then, in that same breath, one of the things that we bring to the market is a solution for owner dependence. So there is truth in there.
Yeah.
There is reality in that. It is a problem that can be solved.
Yeah, and you guys do it through this, fractional C-level people really help.
Yeah.
In the article, and I don't know if I told this on any of our other episodes, because I like telling this story on the podcast I'm on, because it really hits the point. It goes back about 10 years, and this client, I'd done a couple projects. We did an acquisition, we did something else, and he said, "We're not making enough money. $5 million company, not making much money." And okay, here, I'll come in. Let's figure out what's going on. Met almost all of the 50 employees, had a special session with just the management team, talked to the owner more, et cetera, et cetera. Came down. In fact, the owner has to have everything across his desk.
Yep.
And he's slow and he's deliberate and he travels a lot. And I helped him delegate to his 4-person management team, and called him. We were done with the project, and I called him a couple months later. "How are things going?" He says, "Well, they're all complaining because they're overworked because I'm delegating so much. So I'm glad you listened."
Yeah.
And then after a year, profits quintupled.
Wow.
Quintupled.
Wow. Like, that's real evidence of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the bottleneck, and he accepted it.
Yeah. So good. So good. I mean, I've got a real world example that I'm facing right now, and it's contracts and documentation. So right now, everything that we agree to as a firm, I sign. I'm the only one that signs contracts on behalf of the company, and I actually believe that it will stay that way for a while. I don't know that I want to delegate that level of authority. Maybe certain agreements or contracts.
And we're talking client contracts?
Yeah, client
Or-
engagements or vendor contracts, or
Yeah.
let's just say all legal forms I'm signing.
Yeah.
We're just not at that place where I can delegate that out, right? But what I've found is the contracts that are coming my way, the people that are proposing them, let's say it's with a vendor or it's a referral partner agreement, or it's a joint marketing agreement or something like that. I'm getting the contract and it's like, will you review this and sign it? And so I think to myself, I have to read every word of this. I have to know everything that it says that I'm obligating us to. I would really like for the people that are giving me the contract to give me an overview, tell me they've read it, they know what the risks are, they know where it's at, they approve it. They're,
You mean run it through AI?
Yeah.
Say here.
Yeah. Will you? I mean, at least that. But right now, I'm just getting this. Will you sign this thing?
I know, and I'm sure your client contracts are pretty much 80% is the same for all of them, because it's your standard language.
Yeah.
So it's changing multiple paragraphs.
Yeah. So if we have a standard contract and a client or a vendor needs to make changes, some of those are appropriate. I accept some changes to contracts, but not all. But when they come through with a bunch of changes, we haven't built the systems internally where those who are, the front facing, the ones that are negotiating the relationship, they don't know. I haven't set the expectation that, like, before you give me this to review and approve, if there are any changes, you need to give me a summary. I need to know what the risks are, what the benefits are, like why we're doing this, right? Don't just give it to me cold. So I'm getting these contracts, and like they're sitting in my inbox for weeks because I've got other things that are priority. And I know that, like, reading this document is going to take me 90 minutes to process through, ask questions, go back and forth. And man, this is so frustrating, right? And I'm angry about it. And I'm angry with myself because I haven't developed the systems and the protocols that allow other people to make decisions or, act with my authority.
I know where you can get a good fractional CEO to help you with that.
Isn't that funny? Right? Like this is where we're at. This is where we're at in our business.
And I tongue in cheek said AI, and it does help. But I'll tell you, this article I wrote for our latest round of exchanged articles, I wrote it, I ran it through I think it was ChatGPT, and said, please, edit this. Yep. It came back and it really streamlined a lot of it. It got rid of wasteful words, so it cut it down by about a third. But then as I read it, it took that out. That adds context to the next line. And then there's something where in a paragraph and it says the same thing twice. And it's like, you got to be careful with AI. You
can't abdicate.
That's why you have to read them.
It is. Unless we have. So I think the way to reduce the dependence on me is that we might just have to make a rule that we don't alter our contracts, or that a contract unaltered, like our MPSA, our a master professional services agreement, like our overriding contract on an engagement.
This is with the client.
Yep. Client contract. If it is not altered, then perhaps I can delegate the authority for one of our senior managers to sign it on behalf of the company. Right now, they all come to me. So maybe that's a way.
And you've already approved the fee, though.
Yeah.
And all that. And they put it in there.
Well, and here's something I did. This is really good. So the question that I have so often when people say, reduce owner dependence, I'm like, how? Like, actually, how? Yeah. And that's kind of what we're talking about here is we've got contracts. So I can say, if they're unaltered, somebody else can sign it. If there's any alterations, it has to come to me. Well, maybe guess what? Our frontline team is going to be less willing to have a contract altered because they know it's going to sit on my desk for 2 weeks. That if there's no changes, and they can just say, we have a policy, we don't change it. And if they really push, okay, it's going to sit on my CEO's desk for 2 weeks.
Yeah. But you do get some people that'll whine and complain about any contract and try to change it. I've got a prospective client referred by the law firm. It's my law firm also. And the guy, he ripped apart it's a 5-page representation agreement. And he says, I'm not signing. That's too long. So the other attorney at the firm said, you just cut out all the non-essential stuff that really doesn't matter. So it's 2.5 pages. But sometimes you just got to do that.
Yeah.
And I, obviously didn't take anything out affecting fees or term or responsibilities.
Yeah, I don't. There's a question in my mind if it's 5 and you can cut it back to 2.5, do you just stick with the 2.5? The alterations that I'm comfortable with are like, states of governing law based on people being in Washington or out of Washington, or some of the language about what the words means needs a little bit of clarification. Every time if I accept a change in a contract, I'm like, we should maybe adopt this as a permanent change so that we don't have to alter so much. But you said pricing. So there's contracts. If there's no change, maybe somebody else can sign it. If there's a change, I'll have to, but there's a 2-week turnaround on that. So maybe they won't make changes. Pricing. I'm really clear about what our profitability metrics are. And so this is an authority that I've delegated down. So if it fits in our profitability matrix, you don't need to ask me for approval. If it doesn't, you must ask me for approval before presenting to a client, right? So in that, there's some guidelines and there's some rules. And I have, from day one, anytime we make a decision or I make a decision, I have my closest ally, I don't know, that's not the right word, but we've got a chief of staff in the company. And so she and I work most closely together. But anytime a decision is made, I say, Abby, document that in our SOP, our standard operating procedure. Our standard operating procedure began on my day one as a blank page in a Word document. Today, it's like 145 pages.
Well, that sounds like a founder-run company until you got here.
Well, and
You
there
know what I
is,
mean?
yeah,
It's up here.
there is history of a lot of prior SOPs that existed, but just in the most recent era before I came in, they were not, there was no compliance
Yeah.
with these SOPs. So that's a place where I go to immediately is, what are the rules of operation? What are the standard operating procedures in the company that if Joe was gone today and Bob was there tomorrow, is there a document that Bob could read that would at least guide the work that he does?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's a thing.
Yeah. And with 30 people, and these are all smart, you know, a lot of them C-level
Yeah,
experienced people. They're smart enough to pick up on that if it's there.
that's right. They're also smart enough to make up their own way if there is no written rule.
Yeah.
And it's not like, amongst 30 people, it's not like they're all going to get it wrong. In fact, they're probably all going to get it right, but it's going to be different. And it's so that without that standardization, we don't stand a chance of scaling. We can grow just by grit and might, but scale, no.
Isn't that the way McDonald's started? That you can get a bunch of teenagers and get them in there, and they do every step along the way. Dick's Drive-In is the same thing. You get this, and you one squirt here, one squirt there, flip it here.
Yep.
And anyone can step in with a little training and do it. Yours is just at, instead of the teenage level, it's at the
Senior
very
executive.
smart senior exec level.
And we don't, I have no interest in telling our consultants how to do the work when they're working in a company, for our client.
Yeah.
They're there to do what they know how to do. But for us as a firm to deliver that product or that service to our clients consistently every time in a way that scales, in a way that doesn't require me to be involved in every decision, we have to have rules.
Yeah. And part of that is, you're very much like the fractional CFO controller type organizations, that these people, they don't want to do what you're doing. They want to be in the company helping improve it. Mm-hmm. And they don't want to get caught up in the contracts and a lot of the marketing and the, just the, what I call administrivia.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with the administrivia.
Yeah. We definitely fill the holes that are holes.
Yeah.
And they're holes for a reason. I observe in my own experience, I really enjoy sales. I enjoy marketing. I value operations. But you see, there's two different words there. There's what I enjoy and there's what I value. And so it's becoming apparent to me that as we grow and scale, the operational seat in our company is the one that's going to need additional resource and additional support.
Yeah.
In order for me to then, be less involved in the day-to-day operations. But they have to, the rules have to be established and the systems have to be built so that people know what to do. Otherwise, they're going to be asking all the time, how do I do this? What do you think about this?
Yeah. And there are some things you have to approve that they do or write or
for sure
going to put in a speaking engagement, etc.
Where do you think, maybe it's revenue size, probably revenue, but where do you see there being an actual opportunity for an owner to be out of the business, to be a, call it a non-active or a passive owner in a company?
I don't know if it's size as much as having the right team.
Yeah.
I've seen it with, companies doing 5-6 million worth, recent client worth 5 million, sold for 5 million. The owner did a little biz dev, but it got to be sticky with the legal agreement because they wanted the CEO to be, in my world, there's representations and warranties. You would, as the owner, would say, if you were selling one Accord, you would say, I represent and warranty these consultants, these clients, these tax returns are all legitimate.
Yeah.
And every time something came up, he would say, the owner would say, you need to talk to the CEO. And they realized, well, he has to be on the reps and warranties.
Yeah.
And that, so size isn't as much as have you got the right people.
Wow. Really interesting. Okay. So the person owns the business. He's got a CEO operating the business. The owner goes to sell, but because he's not in the business, he has to defer to his CEO on this reps and warranties. So that CEO has to take on some liability in this transaction.
Well, he has to take on the liability that is the seller's would be the seller's liability.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, it was like it was like open kimono. There were no secrets.
Yeah.
They had access to, this company had like half a dozen software, ERP, accounting, all inventory separate from ERP, CRM, with thousands and thousands of people. They had access to it beforehand. There was nothing hidden.
Yeah.
But they said, we're not letting this. We need the CEO to be backing all this stuff with your money, Mr. Seller.
Yeah. Yeah. Really interesting. I heard something in dialogue about equity ownership, and just in the context of, do I bring on equity partners? I own the company, and the advice that was shared with me secondhand or even third hand was, don't give up more than 20% equity in the company. As the owner founder, you want to maintain 80%. And I thought, well, I wonder why that is. I think it is with a majority recap, or you've got a private equity that's not buying 100% of the company, but they're going to buy a certain portion. They don't want to deal with a group of shareholders, or buyers don't necessarily want to deal with a group of shareholders that could disrupt a transaction, that it's easier just to buy from one or two people.
I understand that, but I don't. My experience, and I don't see it too often, but I will say that what I've experienced is supermajority of 67%.
Okay,
is a cutting line. Now you can have an operating agreement that would give people, let's say you got 5 shareholders, and 2 are at 67%, 70%. The other 3 own 10% each, 30%. If you have a shareholder agreement or member agreement that says you can't sell the company without 80%, that overrides. But normally, lawyers have told me, supermajority, you can sell it. I went through one of these number of years ago, and 9 family shareholders, 5 on one side, 4 on the other. It was a mess. But the ones that were the 5 that were operating, the 4 were not operating as family business, had just under 67%. And there was a stink created.
Yeah.
But the lawyer said, look, if you were at supermajority, you could just go and sell the stock. And so 20%, if someone comes in to buy it, they can buy out or not buy out certain owners. 20, if there's any debt, 20% or more, the minority is on the debt too.
Yeah. That's a consider. So I'm just thinking about in the context of owner dependence. I speak with a lot of entrepreneurs that want a successor. They want somebody to come in, or there's a up and comer, and they think, well, I've got to give them equity. And those, many people are asking for equity in companies. And I think to myself, do you really know what you're asking for? Because there are a lot of ways to be compensated that are much better than equity.
Yeah.
And it is true that being an equity owner is really great on a successful exit. We could go into the data on how many successful exits there are to really demonstrate that equity isn't as sexy as a lot of people think it is. Back to owner dependence, though. You have thoughts on the owner bringing in a successor, or that a CEO, and giving them equity or making equity a part of the comp package?
I wouldn't bring someone in and give them equity. I would let them prove themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this deal I just talked about, there were two people that had phantom shares,
Yeah.
but it was done right. And it was, when I say it was done right, the owner didn't just, if I said to you, Nick, you got 10% phantom shares of equity. So you get 10% of when we just do distributions, you get 10%. When we sell the company, you're going to get 10%. Now, that's what all we do. And I sell the company, you're going to get 10%. Say we sell for $10 million and you get $1 million. That's ordinary income to you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I had come to you and said, Nick, we're going to do this agreement and you're going to have phantom equity at 10% and has spelled out. And in the tax return, the K1 says Nick Anderson, 0 for everything. When it comes to sell, you get capital gains because you have been legally given the phantom equity.
So there are some considerations there.
Yeah. So you say get $1 million in 1 year.
Yeah.
37% federal
Capital
marginal tax rate, 20% capital gains rate.
So your ordinary income at that $1 million is going to be taxed at a higher level in current, than might be capital gain.
Well, yeah. I mean, the highest marginal tax rate is 37%. Where does that kick in? Like 500,000-600,000.
Yeah.
And so half of it would be at 37. The other half would be at the graduated, but it's still a lot more than 20.
Right. Lots of considerations.
It's in the paperwork, right?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of considerations. Yeah. What else on owner dependence can we unpack that gets to like a really specific? So here again, not to follow these 7 steps to financial freedom, but rather like, documenting SOPs, making rules, delegating authority. Like those are things that lead to a reduction of owner dependence. What else?
Well, before that, it's the acceptance that you need to want to do it. If it's just, oh yeah, they're telling me to get, not do as much, but geez, I'm so important. How can I let go of this stuff? No one else can do it.
Yeah.
So it's baby steps. It's little things.
Like what?
Well, in your case, it's giving certain managers the approval to sign unaltered contracts and say, don't even show them to me. Just tell me we got the client.
Yeah.
And they can't, it's hard to screw that up.
Let me shift into sales and marketing, biz dev, revenue generation. I had a person reach out to me. He owns another company, wants to collaborate. And I was really honored by his outreach. Somebody that, and I said, great, let me bring 2 of my guys in and you bring whomever it is on your team and let's get our teams collaborating. And I made introductions and then he messaged me directly and was like, I want to talk to you. Right? I want to keep this, CEO to CEO.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was a mix of emotions, right? It was honoring to me because, here's a person whom I think does a really good job in the marketplace, right? Like, I respect, what he's doing.
Yeah.
And for him then to want to work directly with me, I'm like, wow, I'm flattered. And then I'm also feeling the pull back into the business. So in the ideal company is not dependent on me, I can delegate everything to the team and I don't have to be there. And I was like, not yet.
No,
Yeah.
I agree. And I'm also going to say that when you say an owner dependence, get rid of owner dependencies, doesn't mean they're under the table playing tiddlywinks or, and dice or something like that.
Yeah.
What it means is they're concentrating on big picture stuff to strategically grow the business. That is a strategic decision. That is where the CEO should be. The
Right.
CEO shouldn't be on, you shouldn't be in, I have to read these agreements.
Yep. So that's a great distinction. Because this notion of like reduced owner dependence does not mean that the owner isn't working in the business, isn't working long hours, isn't putting in more effort than anyone else at times and in certain areas. One of the things that I've enjoyed is seeing some of the people on the team find a client, engage the client, propose to the client, land the deal, and then tell me about it when it's done. Because we have the rules, like they know where profitability is, the documentation is standardized. And so by the time, we get there, and I've been tracking through and hearing in our pipeline and our sales updates, here's a prospect and we're having this conversation, went well, looks like we won the proposal, and then here's the contract and here's the pricing. And I've not met that client. That's great.
That is,
right?
Yeah. With your number of people, you should be getting more of that. Now, I don't know how many people you have doing biz dev. It's not 30, because if it was
not
30, they would do it for themselves and get their own assignments.
Yeah.
So, it's the same again. It's what I deal with. It's what CFO, fractional CFO, controller people deal with. And sales is the toughest part of the business, is, getting customers, getting clients. We are not dealing with, hey, I'm a Walmart or Fred Meyer where they can, we just have stuff and they come in and buy it. And there's some magic behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But it's not like you and I and others have to build the client relationship. Most of the time it's us, or we're involved.
Yeah. And so my goal is that most of the time it's not me, but there are times where it will necessarily be me. And if those times are, the highest impact, right? The highest level strategy, that's what makes sense. But I know that if the majority of the revenue coming in requires my involvement, then we will be stuck.
Yeah.
We won't grow beyond my capacity.
But your first part there is important, because it flashes me back many, many years when the Seattle area had the King County Journal. And, suburban newspaper, east side, south end. I used to write a column about every 4 to 6 weeks for them. And one of them I wrote on is an owner can add value to the sales process without being the chief salesperson by going out with a sales representative and letting that customer know, I'm the owner. Your business means a lot to us.
Yep.
So that's the added value part that a CEO can add if needed, versus knock on the doors.
Yep. Agreed. My background in banks, I worked for many banks, some of them very large. And the CEO of the bank would go on a select number of client calls. Or there would be the executive vice president, the chief commercial banking officer would go on calls, or the senior vice president, the head of Washington commercial banking would go on calls. And then there would be many calls when bankers their clients would never meet any of the senior executive leaders, right? And so I see the world through that lens, because that's how I grew up, was in banks. And I see that level of scale where there's 500 employees, there's 25 branch offices, and there's sales and business development at every level. And sure, the CEO is involved in those deals, but they're very sparing, right? And I aspire to that place with the firm. And I hear this from the same idea from many entrepreneurs. They want the same thing and they ask for it this way. I just need a rock star salesperson. Can you help me find that?
Oh
Because
yeah, all the time.
if I had a salesperson, then the business wouldn't be dependent on me to make sales. And okay, so if it's your first sales hire, I think what you just are alluding to is, yeah, the business is still going to be dependent on you because that salesperson can line them up, but you're going to have to knock them down. They're going to get the appointment, they're going to get them there, but just your presence as the owner founder is going to be what it takes to close a deal, particularly in professional services or
Definitely.
some of the trades, right? And for high ticket transactions, somebody's going to hire a architect or an engineer or home builder.
Yeah.
One of my closest best friends is a second generation home builder, and every one of his clients wants to talk to him, even though he doesn't swing a hammer. He's not building their house,
Right.
but they want to talk to him.
Yeah.
Right. So he almost can't get out of this business, even though he's got the people there. He's got foremen, he's got leads. His kind of succession is going to require him bringing in the next owner of the company, probably for a couple of years.
Oh yeah.
Or him staying on. There's going to have to be some overlap.
That's construction.
Yep. Yeah, it is. And yet, you've got large construction firms that affect ESOP transaction. These large, I think of
Lee Scratcher Lewis.
Yeah, Lee Scratcher Lewis. Yeah.
Yeah. But that ESOP's been around a long time. You got other ones here in town like GLY that just they have, I think last time I talked to a guy there, it was like a 12-person executive team, and they keep going, cycling people in and up, and then they retire, and they have a program without being an ESOP because they're big enough someone might buy them, but but you take a $100 million a year general contracting firm, tough to sell.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked a bit about operations, got into the tactical. You have to have rules, and the rules have to make sense, and people have to follow. So I say it this way: there's got to be rules, and there's got to be training, and then there has to be compliance,
and then there has to be patience.
Yeah,
there has to be patience when you're trying to get someone to delegate.
You like how I responded to that? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you have to let people stumble, and that's part of patience.
Yeah.
That I gave you this, and yes, I have to make 3 edits on this agreement, but next time you'll know these 3 things, and I won't have to see them again. Instead of yelling at someone, you made 3 things that are out of the rules. Well, that's not a good culture. And it's bringing people along gradually. You can't just throw them into the most important tasks.
One of the things that makes an entrepreneur is impatience. Isn't that right? They're impatient. I'm impatient. So I want to go do this thing my way because I can do it better, faster, cheaper, deliver more value.
Yeah. And you can do it every time, and it'll take you 2 hours. And instead of taking 10 hours to train them, and then all these 2 hours every day, every week for the next 3 years, you're not doing.
Yep.
That's a mindset.
Yeah.
I go through it with Jessica. So many owners go through it. It's not easy.
No, it is.
No silver bullet.
But it is necessary if we want to reduce the dependence of the company on the owner, to make the rules, train patiently, not overextending that. I think we can overextend grace. Maybe you can't overextend grace, but there is a point at which someone has demonstrated they don't have the competence or the capacity to do the thing the way it needs to be done. Or desire. Yep. Okay. So rules, follow the rules, train for the rules, compliance around the rules, which means if I write all these rules and people don't follow them, and I accept their performance outside of the rules, then I shouldn't have had the rules to begin with. That was a waste of time.
Yeah.
So if I say any contract that is altered needs to come across my desk, but those that are not altered, you can sign on your own, but I don't allow people to sign the contracts for whatever reason, or if there are alterations and I'm like, no, you can just sign it. If I deviate from those rules, that creates confusion, diminishes trust, doesn't work for the scale. Okay, so there's operations. Sales, people ask, can you just help me find that rock star salesperson? And I generally would respond, you're not ready for that rock star salesperson yet. That rock star salesperson is going to come into an organization that doesn't have rules, doesn't have systems, doesn't have structure, and they might be successful out of sheer will, but they're not going to be successful long term, and they're probably going to leave and go somewhere that has systems and structure that makes it easy for them
To be a rock star. Yeah.
Right.
And the question is, I do all the sales, get me a rock star salesperson. Why would they want to come and work for you? Because they're going to say, you do all this, you're going to be looking over my shoulder all the time, or you're just going to throw me in there with, no training of, not training on sales, but training on your company, your rules.
Yep. But no, we can't say it enough that hiring high quality talent sure makes a difference, right? The higher the quality of the people we bring into our organizations, the faster we can reduce dependence on ourselves. I've wondered this too in the early stages of a company, the early formation. Some would say that you should hold out, right? That you should. It's better to not hire a C player and go without and wait for that A player than it is to hire the C player.
Well, I put a quote in the article that just shared with you. It's from former Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld. It starts with the old A people hire A people, B people hire C people. And he says, I can't remember the exact words, but he says, go out and meet a bunch of A people.
Yep.
Get to know A people.
Yep. And I agree with that philosophy. And there's nuance that as a company is growing, scaling, going in somewhere new, maybe doesn't have the revenue, and people will, push back on me, and I welcome that like, it's better to, pay more for that A player now because it's going to pay off down the road. I think that most of the people that are sharing this advice have hired who they could hire in the moment, knowing that they were C players because that's who they could get. Those people took them halfway down the field to the 50-yard line, but they can't get them into the end zone. So now they recognize, okay, I need a higher caliber of talent to finish. And so it's challenging because they've hired somebody that could only get them this far.
Now, I want to clarify here.
Yeah.
We're talking in the management responsibility level of the company, because we're working with a company now in manufacturing. And the question is always well, where do you get people? Do you poach them from somewhere? You think you can't poach people in our industry.
Yeah.
We bring people in. So they're bringing in entry level on the manufacturing and training them to be A-level factory workers.
Yeah.
But you don't just go out and hire A-level factory workers very commonly.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So just training. So you were up here.
Yeah, we're talking executive leadership, senior
Sales,
leadership, the head of
finance.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm exploring, just in my own experience, this idea that it's okay to have a C player on the team for the season that the company is growing into becoming a B player of a company, right?
Yep.
This person can get me here, but they've reached their capacity. So now I need to upgrade talent from a C player to a B player, and they're going to be with us until this season.
And can you train them to be the next level?
Can they?
Yeah. Can you train them?
Yeah. And I think that invitation should always be there. And maybe some people will grow into the role, and some people won't. I think where the real The crux is I've hired someone that has reached their capacity, right? They were great for us until this point, but the company is now growing past them. I know what I need to do, which is to invite them to find another career, something else, because the company is growing past them. But I can't do it because there's relationship, because I'm afraid I won't be able to hire somebody better, because I'll have to do extra work in the interim. Like all of the reasons not to sever employment with someone, like they flood in fast for most of us.
And every owner who goes through this, when they finally get rid of that person, says, why didn't I listen to everyone else and do it weeks, months, whatever ago? One of my past clients, I think it was 3 or 4 years. He kept whining to a group, this one person, and years. And everyone said, get rid of him now. Of course, when he got rid of him, it was like, this is the best thing since sliced bread, right? You know, whatever analogy.
Yeah. And I think even in if I can just like there are important, meaningful relationships that are valued, right? And so there are some times where it's like I need to get rid of, but there are other times where it's like I'm sad, I'm heartbroken that this person doesn't have the capacity to grow with the company. I know them, I know their family, I know, like it's very difficult.
It is.
But if I don't do that, I'm responsible to fill the gap that this person's role should be filling, or other people are. And so back to the original kind of, where we started, owner dependence, hanging on to or staying with an employee that is not progressing with the maturation of the company makes that business dependent on the owner in a really unhealthy way, because the owner needs to make that decision at staffing that team decision, but the lack of ability to do so is like constraining the business, and that's a really unhealthy dependence.
Yeah, and then you get your other people that at the similar level who are going, why or do we still tolerate this person? Everything we give them gets done late or wrong.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's the hardest part of owning a company.
Well, it's owning a company is about people. Buying a business is about people. You're buying the people. We are not, we're not talking some mega merger. Whether we're talking lower middle market, it's all relationship. And it's all about the relationship with the people in the company. Because, if you got 50 people and you do something wrong and 10 of them leave, you're hurt.
Yeah. I said this, I don't know if I've heard it from someone else, but when it comes to businesses, buyers want to, oh, I even forgot what I said. Buyers don't want to buy problems. They don't want to buy problems.
Right.
But sellers want to sell problems. And if I want to create a company that someone wants to buy, I have to solve all of those problems. And when I do, I probably don't want to sell the business because I don't have the problems. Right? That's the ideal here.
Yeah, it's either solve or control the problems.
Yeah.
And then you can sell on your terms when it's time. Yep. Or if it makes it easier to sell, if something happens that says you need to sell, health, they'll divorce, death, disability, but it's usually not that. But it's, could be a health issue that the doctor says, if you keep working, right? A guy a few years ago, doctor said, if you keep working, I am not going to do any more surgeries on you.
Yep.
And it's time to get out of that business.
Owner dependence. We've got sales, operations, finance, people. The problems that the owner wants to sell are not the things that buyers want to buy.
Right.
The problems have to be solved, and in doing so, reduces owner dependence. Having rules, standard operating procedures, systems, building training systems so that the manufacturing firm can hire people and train them into their roles, so that the owner doesn't have to be walking the floor telling people what to do all the time. There are training systems that elevate. In sales, having systems and a framework, even the support systems, having a good CRM will actually reduce owner dependence if that CRM system is used properly, right? The founder of the company that has all of the personal contact information, knows all the stories and the relationships. And if that isn't transferred, that transfer of knowledge coming through CRM, technological systems, like how are our files organized and how's our data managed? Is it easy to access, or do I get a call regularly? Hey, do we have a thing for that? Do we have one of those things?
Mm-hmm.
Where's this thing? Right. If I build systems and I train people to use systems, and then I have compliance around those systems. So yeah, we do have a thing, and it was in your first week of training. Here, go back and watch this video, and it'll tell you where you can find the thing that you're looking for.
You mean that first week when it was drinking from a fire hose all day long, right?
Yeah. There's all, here you go. How to do consulting at One Accord in 5 days. Drink it all in and remember it forever.
5 easy steps, one a day.
5 easy steps. But that compliance piece that points someone back to, yes, you have access to the resource, rather than relying on the easy answer to just call Nick.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, let me, at least from my part, finish by tying it into M&A and exiting. So if you get to the level where a private equity or a family office is going to buy your company or your client's company, they want a management team. They always have. They always will. They are not looking for that owner who does too much. I would tend the smaller deals, the lower middle market deals, where it's either an individual or maybe not a true private equity, but some people said, yeah, we got friends and family, we raised a bunch of money and our money. Banks are. I'll tell you what my friend Lisa Forrest said to me the other day. She said that the SBA is groaning and bitching about experience, and banks are, because I had asked her, because I heard from a couple banks or people working with banks, they want, they're saying I don't have direct industry experience, which rarely happens in the lower middle market deals. But she said there's no rules, but the SBA is all over this. Are people lending to the wrong buyers based on experience? And, banks are like, part of a herd. If it starts out at this level, it's going to go to this bank, or up this level and over to these banks. And pretty soon they're all going to be questioning, does the buyer have experience? Well, if you walk into a $5 million company like the one I talked about, and there's a CEO and there's a director of technology and, et cetera, that mitigates that question, that it takes away that what is the owner? How can you replace the owner?
I saw this in SBA 7A application process very recent.
Yeah.
Where the bank was asking for resumes and experience and actually drilled into the owner of the company and their ability to manage the business.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a smart line of questioning from the bank. I mean, if I'm an equity investor, if I'm a debt, I'm providing debt capital. Yeah, I want to know that I'm giving the keys to this car to somebody that knows how to drive and didn't just get their license.
Yeah. But then it, and I shouldn't say but it goes into what is the right experience? Because if you said every business buyer has to have direct industry experience making a widget, a left-handed widget, not a right-handed widget, you're never going to find a buyer for that company. Right. But if it's relevant experience, it's, client 4 deals this guy did, bought 4 companies in the environmental testing laboratory industry, came out of banking and finance, but he could manage people.
Yeah.
And processes.
Yeah. He's a
relevant
good operator.
Because he didn't need a scientist.
Not a technical, but did the companies that he buy, did they have that management team with the technical expertise?
They had enough.
Yeah.
That they had enough on the technical side, not the business side. He replaced the owner, who was a scientist, but didn't do any more lab work.
Mm-hmm. Very relevant points. One is the importance of that management team.
Yes.
Yeah. And the other is that look at the experience. If a buyer is using SBA debt, but I'd say any capital partner, whether it's equity or debt,
right,
they're going to want to know.
But even at the SBA, as I said, banks follow each other.
Yep.
And if they're asking these questions here, they're going to start asking them here and here.
Yeah. Yeah, true. So part of this owner dependence is developing a management team, elevating the capacity, the competence of the management team. And that's where I think we go from this. Okay, so the C player, and just to put this in context, right? It's how many times do we hear? My sister-in-law is our finance person, right? She's our CFO, and really, what she's done is a high level kind of accounting role.
She's a bookkeeper,
high level bookkeeping, and been there doing it for 15 years. And so she knows everybody, she knows everything. So the bills get paid on time, payroll happens on time, there's money in the bank. And so it seems like everything's going well. But that's not the level of sophistication that's going to carry a $70 million company through a transaction. Right.
Yeah.
The GM is somebody who's been with the company for 25 years. And so here again, they know every sound that the CNC machine makes and where to bang on it to make the sound go away. They're really good friends with all of the people on the staff. But they're, if you get into the data and the numbers, then maybe efficiencies aren't where they could be. Maybe there's a lot of waste from production that could be shored up. Maybe there's some safety stuff that isn't addressed or adhered to, and there's some things in there that what got us here isn't necessarily going to get us there. And the investor, the equity investor, the debt partner, that capital partner, the buyer, probably doesn't want to buy the business to keep things status quo. They want to buy because it's going to grow.
And growth takes effort and capital and skill. And if that bookkeeper can't handle, if we're going to grow, what kind of cash flows are we going to have?
Yeah. A lot of different ways we could take this conversation. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Good one.
Very good.
We can pick up on it next time or go in the direction that the winds are calling us. I'm really enjoying having these conversations with you, John.
And the way the winds blow, there's always something to talk about.
Yeah, there is. Well, hey, thank you for hanging out with us for a while in the Value Factory. I hope that you've received a nugget of wisdom, as my friend Matt Wimmer likes to say, or taken something away from this conversation that you might apply in your company or you could advise a client around, I'll say until next time, we'll see you again.